Welcome back, Sunday Lessons. Today we're going to talk about the ancient proverbs Ashe, which is legal maxims, ancient morals, customs, and ways of nobles like we're talking about in the last videos. It's all the principles that will make up our religions. Our religion, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, Islamism, by the Moorish sages of the ancient cities, sir, which is cities, ancient and modern. We in cities today, and we still practice our religion. So let's get into it. We can go from A to J. Action. A little knowledge that acts is worth infinitely more than much knowledge that is idle. Believing is a fine thing, but placing those beliefs into execution is a test of strength. Many are those who talk like the roar of the sea, but their lives are shallow and like the rotten marshes. Many are those who lift their heads above the mountains, but their spirits remain dormant in the obscurity of the caverns, stagnant tops. Advice. He who do not seek advice is a fool. His folly blinds him to truth and makes him evil, stubborn, and a danger to his fellow man. These precepts of Ashe or Ma'at or Islamism today is what we call these, is universal knowledge, ancient knowledge. That's why sometimes you see me going through different texts, because the gist of our religion is the study and implementation of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. So we go back to the old precepts, and we use these to create family law, community law, nation law, state law, etc. Philosophies. So age. Seek ye counsel of the aged, for their eyes have looked on the faces of the years, and their ears have hearkened to the voices of life. Even if their counsel is displeasing to you, pay heed to them. Ancestry. A man is not noble only through ancestry, for how many noblemen are descendants of murderers? It's about you being noble in life today, regardless of your ancestry. You had good and bad. We all got mixed spirits. The most wickedest man got Allah in him, and the most holy man got Saint Tagus in him. It's just how we manifest these things, and we do it through thought, word, and deed, in that order. And we, like the Buddha, meditate, and that's our religion. We meditating on these things ourselves, the good and the bad, the low and the higher, and we keep control. The man who will conquer self did more than a man who conquer an entire nation. Authority. Selflessness, my brethren, is the cause of selfishness, my brethren, is the cause of blind superiority. And superiority creates clanship, and clanship creates authority, which leads to discord and subjugation. The soul believes in the power of knowledge and justice over dark ignorance. It denies the authority that supplies the soul to defend and strengthen ignorance and oppression. That authority which destroyed Babylon and shook the foundation of Jerusalem and left Rome in ruins. It was that which made people call criminals great men, made writers respect praise their names, made historians relate the stories of their inhumanity and manner of beauty. So let's get into beauty. Beauty is that which attracts your soul. And that which loves to give and not receive. When you meet beauty, you feel that the hands deep within your inner self are stretched forth to bring her into the domain of your heart. It is a magnificent combine of sorrow and joy. It is unseen what you see. It is the unseen what you see, and the vague what you understand, and the mute what you hear. It is the holy of holiness that begins in yourself and ends vastly beyond your earthly imagination. If you ever been locked up in so-called jail, incarcerated for, let me see, about 90 days, over 90 days, and you get out, the grass greener and the sun, you can feel the sun on your skin. And that's because beauty, the way beauty works, as we get older in life, we don't appreciate those little things as much until you get taken away from you by you being locked up. A more vibrant, your visions, smell, taste, all that more vibrant, touch. That's why a hamburger gonna taste like a steak when you get out there, a hamburger from McDonald's, because it's within you, and you can always have those feelings and those heightened senses, which is bliss, right? You can have that by understanding beauty and appreciating just that loss of those things, those little things again that you get appreciation for. So that's a good example of what is beauty. So, are you troubled by many faiths that man possesses? Are you lost in the valley of conflicting beliefs? Do you think that freedom of heresy is less burdensome than the yoke of submission? And the liberty of thy saints safer than the stronghold of acquiescence? If such be the case, then make beauty your religion, and worship her as your Godhead, for she is the visible, manifest, and perfect handiwork of the Creator. And what you saying up here? Do you think that freedom of heresy is less burdensome than the yoke of submission, and the liberty of thy saints safer than the stronghold of acquiescence? That's like people going with the flow, even if they think something is wrong, if they're against with the masses. Just like when the so-called mass, some people, for the sake of being able to go in the store and not get beat up by the people who think that they need a mask, that one person who will wear that mask just for to ride with the wave. So you gotta understand, freedom is one of our holy, divine religions. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. So freedom is something we gotta think about how to obtain that within ourselves and help others obtain that within them. So if such be the case, they make beauty your religion and worship her as your Godhead, for she is the visible, manifest, and perfect handiwork of the Creator. Cast off those who have toiled with godliness as if it was a sham, joining together greed and arrogance. And again, when you say godliness, for us, we talking about the higher self, which would make man be kind, not take something to harm somebody, not take money to commit a wrong. So you see, you gotta be godliness when you deal with greed and arrogance, because you understand that if something wrong, you shouldn't do it, because you got a God, right? You got a God, so you gonna stop yourself from doing things when you God. And you play with that and act like dying the thing, then you ain't really got the understanding, and a dangerous person again. But believe instead in the divinity of beauty that is at once the beginning of your worship of life and the source of your hunger for happiness. Do penance before beauty and atone for your sins, for beauty brings your heart closer to the throne of woman, who is the mirror of your affections and the teacher of your heart in ways of nature, which is your life's home. That was for men at the end. Only your spirit can understand beauty or love and grow with it. It puzzles our mind. We are unable to describe it in words. It is a sensation that your eyes cannot see. And woman is the number one thing that man got that we can get an idea of what that is. Beauty. Man, we know. That's a thing called crushing. Those things, like, we call those divine things because you can't buy and sell those things. It just happens, right? It is a sensation that your eyes cannot see, derived from both the one who observes and the one who is looked upon. Real beauty is a ray which emanates from the holy of the holiest of the spirit and illuminates the body as life comes from the depths of the earth and give color and scent to a flower. You see, I've been talking about that earlier. Everything more vibrant when you step out of jail. Beauty is that harmony between joy and sorrow which begin our holy of holiness and ends beyond the scope of our imagination. Citizenship. What is it to be a good citizen? It is to acknowledge the other person's rights before asserting your own, but to always be conscious of your own. And that's for most. We know we've been mandated to enforce the Constitution and our laws, so that means we law enforcers. Our laws is these precepts. And the laws of the land. So we in cities, so we members of cities. That's what citizen is, the members of the cities. So that means our family, that means us first, like I say earlier. Thoughts, words, and deeds. You gotta manage your own thoughts, words, and deeds. And then your family, then your community, and then your whole city. That's what office is for. And governing. So if you don't know these things, then you can't even hold your government accountable for nothing. You must know the ways that you gotta have certain ways about you. So That's what a good citizen is. It is to create the useful and the beautiful with your own hands, and to admire what others have created and love and with faith. It is to produce by labor and only by labor, and to spend less than you have produced, that your children may not be dependent upon the state for support when you are no more. And that's what the problem is, since we out of order and don't know how to be good citizens no more. So you go to the Morisani temple and that, but inheritances and stuff like that, the state taking everything from the people, because the people rely on the states for everything. The people, they don't got their own laws, so the state got laws for them. They don't got their own regulation. They bring their own brothers and sisters before the courts and charge them for every little petty thing. So the state say, okay, we'll be your fathers. They do the protecting. They got the fraternal brother, order of fraternity or police operating in the cities, so they doing the protecting. It ain't stopping now y'all a group of men to set up an order, but y'all gotta be in unity, right? Gotta be an order of fraternity, of unity. So if we just beefing, that's our thing. We beef with each other. Then we can't be crying about we won't get better and do better for ourselves. Cause that's the opposite. You will never be able to when you're in the unity. What gonna happen is other men gonna govern for you. You're gonna be governed. The city, all people of the noisome city, who are living in darkness, hastening toward misery, preaching falsehood, and speaking with stupidity. Until when you remain ignorant, until when shall you abide in the filth of life and continue to desert its gardens? Why wear your tattered robes of narrowness with the silk remains of nature's beauty is fashioned for you, which is nature's beauty is the natural things around us and our creativity of using those things and our intelligence, the geometry and the mathematics and creating things with the natural resources that we've been granted, instead of chasing the created instrument called money. We forsake nature's wealth that was fashioned for me and you. The lamp of wisdom is dimming. It is time to furnish its oil. The house of true fortune is being destroyed. It is time to rebuild it and guard it. The deeds of ignorance have stolen the treasure of your peace. It is time to retake it. Civilization. The misery of our Asiatic nations and the misery is the misery of the world. And what you call civilization in the U.S. is not but another spectre of the many phantoms of tragic deception. Inventions and discoveries are but amusement and comfort for the body when it is tired and weary. The conquest of distance and the victory over the seas are but false fruit, which do not satisfy the soul, nor nourish the heart, neither lift the spirit, for they are far from nature. Talking to the United States now. And those structures and theories which man calls knowledge and art are not except shackles and gold chain which man drags. And he rejoiced with their glitteriness, reflections, and ringing sounds. Right? They create a culture of celebrity, bureaucracy, a celebtocracy. Right? By they use celebrity being a president. Donald Trump being a celebrity and he become president. So you see, it's a celebtocracy that was created, and that's what he just been explaining. They are strong cages whose bars man's, and you know that breed a lack of true moral truth and decency and intelligence and shunning ignorance. We don't do that because the mixture of our entertainment, which is the court jester in our days, and the comedian. They blurring the lines of reality and how we should, like, anything goes, and you can say anything, and nobody we don't supposed to check nobody, but we peers, and if we don't govern ourselves, other men go govern for us. Hold on. All right, where been at? These are strong cages whose bars man commenced fabricating ages ago. And that's true, because humanity always think they're doing something new. But in reality, the same spirits that were around 5,000 years ago, been around 500 years ago, and is around today. That's the only way they don't change. The different spirits, which is envy, lust, jealousy, happiness, love, hate. These spirits that we all mix spirits. But again, you gotta go be the grand Buddha and the priest of yourself. Like a Moorish American is a priest. You don't see his imam and that. I'm going to his priest, because he is his own priest. He trying to teach you. If you was a Moorish American, you a priest, a high priest. Because you're dealing with knowledge of self. You need no middleman. Get your shit together yourself, right? Just that been past the era of making up an excuse using the middleman. But again, these things also, we go back and look at the maxims, the old law. It's unaware that he was building from the inside, and that he will soon become his own prisoner to eternity. Counsel. My brethren, seek counsel of one another, for therein lies way out of error and futile repentance. The wisdom of the many is your shield against tyranny. For when we turn to one another for counsel, we reduce the number of our enemies. Another thing I want to add to that is always try to make allies out of man instead of enemies out of man. Especially in your peers and the people of your nation. Basically, love instead of hate. Country life. We who live amid the excitements of the city knows nothing of the life of the mountain villagers. We are swept into the current of urban existence until we forget the peaceful rhythms of simple country life. Reap in autumn, rest in winter, imitating nature in all the cycles. We are wealthier than the villagers in silver and gold, but they are rich in spirit. And you go watch those old National Geographic stuff when they used to go in the forest and go talk to the people in the forest and stuff and the mountains. And those people always had big smiles and always happy and laughing. So back then I used to look at that like, damn, we gonna cry if my mom don't buy me those joys. I'm talking about this years ago. I in school, middle school, something as a kid, watching National Geographic, and these people, I realized that back then that these people were happy without the things that I supposed to be happy for. Why they like that? And that's what we gotta talk about. We gotta go back to the propaganda. Propaganda make us dealing with spirit without us even knowing, because we don't gotta understand these things no more. See, when we sow what we sow, we reap not. They reap what they sow. We are slaves of gain. They're the children of contentment. And then the reason why we speaking like this, because we more in the cities. But we keep our peace and our self-understanding, where we gotta stick with understand nature, keep nature, and you keep your peace. You keep understanding of nature, Mother Nature, and a respect for that. And fall into a materialistic black hole. So they the children of contentment. Content with the beautiful land, like we content with a Maybach. It'd be harder for us to get to that contentment the more wrong spread propaganda that we gotta have these things. We excommunicated by our own. Our drought from the cup of life is mixed with bitterness and despair, fear and weariness. But they drink the pure nectar of life fulfillment, which is the things around us. We've been born and we've been blessed with all the things around us, not the extra things we making, not this phone and all this other technology. We ain't been born with that here naturally. So we gotta understand those things and not let those things mix with our spirits. Death. The soul is an embryo in the body of man, and the day of death is the day of awakening. For it is the great era of labor and the rich hour of creation. Death is an ending to the sun of the earth, but to the soul it is the start and the triumph of life. Divinity. Remember that divinity is the true self of man. It cannot be sold for gold. We just talked about that earlier. Those things that we don't see is divine things. Neither can it be heaped up as are the riches of the world today. The rich man has cast off his divinity and has sunk to his goal, and the young today has forsaken their divinity and pursue self-indulgence and pleasures. And again, we're speaking in this form and this one, this the truth aspect, but we learn from it. We telling you, do not cast your divinity for gold, for a heap of it. Because the worth ain't worth it. Is it folly? The fool sees not but folly, and the madman only madness. That's what I see a lot too. People think like, damn, why he just, what's wrong with this motherfucker? He crazy or she crazy? Because if you on a certain thought frequency, whatever you want to call, where people think, they say great minds think alike. When people think of the same thing at the same time and stuff like that. The people who ain't on a low version, the people who on a high version, you can't look down the people on the low version and wonder why they can't understand you. Because the fool only can understand folly. Yesterday I asked a foolish man to count the fools among us. He laughed and said, this is too hard a thing to do, and it will take too long. Were it not better to count only the wise? So you see, to a fool, all he can see is foolishness, so he think it too much to count. I once heard a learned man say, every evil has its remedy, except folly. To reprimand an obstinate fool or to preach to a dolt is like riding upon the waters. Jesus healed the blind, the halt, the palsied, and the leprous, but the fool he couldn't even cure. He had to bring the dead back, but you can't cure the fool because they all in the work. A person gotta wanna go learn and read and do better and respect and have manners and not do wrong. They got these things that a man gotta put through within us and the work. Trying to heal that, it's like people say, we can't save the world. When you hear more said, they trying to tell you could save the world. You just gotta save yourself, and you'll be, and the world be saved. Your world, your universe, and the ones around you. And freedom. Life without freedom is like a body without a soul. And freedom without thought is like a confused spirit. Life, freedom, and thought are three in one, and are everlasting and never pass away. And freedom, to give freedom, like, don't be too judgmental, don't speak too much. Try to learn how to give freedom and spread light. But all you gotta do is deal with love, because you ain't gonna doing it out of love. It ain't gonna come off as a conflict. But people will some people can't take a teaching even if they good, right? Like we say, trying to teach to a foolish person. Say our freedom brings us to her table, where we may partake of her savory food and rich wine. But when we sit down at her board, we eat ravenously and glad ourselves. Friendship with the ignorant is as foolish as arguing with the drunkard. Ain't even need no more for that. Gentleness. The gentleness of some is like a polished shell with a silky feel, lacking the precious pearl within, oblivious of the brother's will. When you shall meet one who is strong and gentle too, pray feast your eyes, for he is glorious to behold. The blind can see his qualities. And that goes with what they say, simp. They call a simp culture, and we don't got understanding of strength and gentleness mix. And that's what we should be teaching. We shouldn't just be out here talking like that with the, oh, he's a simp. And we ain't explaining that to our children in the proper way. We spreading that type of philosophy that, again, mixing up confusing spirits. God, man has worshipped his own self forever, calling this that self by appropriate titles until now, when he employs the word God to mean that same self. Most religions speak of God in the masculine gender. To me, she is much a mother as he is a father. Exempli gratia, alut, which is neuter, which means neuter. He is both the father and the mother in one. And woman is the godmother. The godfather may be reached through the mind with the help of the godmother or imagination, but the godmother can be reached through the heart only through love. And love is that holy wine which the gods bestow from their hearts and pour into the hearts of men. And that's a good practice for Moorish Americans, right? Our religion is love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. So we're reading the hearts of men around us. That's how we should always observe and do. Through thoughts, we can't read minds, so thoughts is only going to be speculated on based off what people say and do. So you can speculate what they be thinking. But you can hear people's words and you can see people's actions. So that's you can read hearts of men and spirits. So we like Ghostbusters. We come to slay. We call it taking the head of Satan by just slaying the evil spirits. And that's why I ain't really no beef. You ain't never gonna see me on none of these videos talking about one person personally or none of that, because I talk about spirits that exist in all us. And I gonna point that out. So it'll be a lesson for more people who act like this person or that person who we so-called be beefing with or got a conflict with. So you wouldn't even have to have a conflict with nobody, because you know those ways more than the person. Those only taste it pure and divine whose heart has been cleansed of all the animal lust. Like we would talk about one of these videos that I make Islamism, we talking about the thin line between man and beast. And ways for clean hearts to be drunk with love is to be drunk with God. Those on the other hand who drink it mixed with the wines of earthly passions taste but the orgies of devils in hell. It is wiser to speak less of God whom we can understand and more of each other whom we may understand. And that's why our religion ain't got nothing spooky. We talking about the things we see around us and we feel and is within us. Even the stuff we can't see, I trying to explain to you what it is. For clean hearts. So yet I would have you know that we are the breath and the fragrance of God. We are God in leaf, in flower, and oftentimes in fruit. Evolution. The law of evolution has a severe and oppressive countenance, and those of limited or fearful mind dread it, but its principles are just, and those who study them become enlightened. Because you're studying yourself, and you're studying man. So you're literally studying God, you're studying nature. Through it reason man are raised above themselves and can approach the sublime. Excess and battling evil. Excess is good. For he who is moderate in announcing the truth is presenting half-truth. He who conceals the other half out of fear of the people's wrath. He conceals the other half out of fear of the people's wrath. Like we were saying earlier, people ain't want to get beat up in them stores. You had the people who believed in it to the point where if you didn't have that mask on, they ready to drag you out that store by your hair. So in fear of the people's wrath, you decide to hide your sword. Good people decide to hide their sword. Like I always say in chat room, like, hey, angels got swords too. So don't get mad if they cut. And the only way they gonna cut is by through love. They gonna tell you, hey brother, that's wrong, don't do that. So, you know, the wicked get mad at that. I see that. I say, damn, people get mad when somebody tells them something wrong. Especially adults. When you older, adults don't like to be. Human nature to people, for people to want people to know they smart, or they intelligent, or they not stupid. So, oftentimes, when you battle the evil, which is again spirits, ain't not personal to the person. You ain't calling nobody evil. You battling this thing. So excess is good. For he who was moderate in announcing the truth was presenting half-truth. Again, a man who's telling that hardcore truth like that, he got to be prepared for the people's wrath. At first, I don't believe it impossible. Exile. He who does not prefer exile to slavery is not free by any measure of freedom, truth, and duty. Eye. Man's eye is a magnifier. It shows him the earth much larger than it is. And we can get a lot out of that, but I don't make this video too long. We can make a lot of these, every last one of these precepts. Goal leads into goal, then into restlessness, and finally into crushing misery. The life that the rich man spends in heaping up gold is in truth like the life of the worm in the grave. It is a sign of fear. Governor. Are you a governor looking down on those who you govern? Never stirring abroad except to rifle their pockets or to exploit them for your own profit? If so, you are like the tares upon the threshing floor of the nation. Are you a devoted servant who loves the people and is ever watchful of their welfare and zealous for their success? If so, you are a blessing in the granaries of the land. The last one, so A to J, and then we're going to do from J to Z. What justice does authority display when it kills the killer, when it imprisons the robber, when it descends on the neighboring country and slays people? What does justice think of the authority under which a killer punishes the one who kills and a thief sentences the one who steals? So you see, we gotta not look at these things ambiguously and really look at the hearts of man and the spirit, because you will have a judge who will be a thief or a liar and unhonorable and be 20 years, and they'll push all his little crimes under the deal and all that, and let him keep being a judge or whatever, and he punishing people, sentencing, and they know this man is a crooked dude, and they'll let him be that. So those type of things, we don't miss it because we don't pay attention to the hearts of man. Like, just because he got in that robe and got that title doesn't mean he living like he got some, like he got the Islamism in him. We can't expect that and assume that of nobody. When a man kills another man, the people say he is a murderer. But when the Amir kills him, the Amir is just. Amir is the Moorish governor, an Amir. When a man robs a monastery, they say he is a thief. But when the Amir robs him of his life, the Amir is honorable. When a woman betrays her husband, they say she is an adulteress. But when the Amir makes her walk naked in the street and stone her later, the Amir is noble. Shedding of blood is forbidden, but who made it lawful for the Amir? Stealing one's money is a crime, but taking away one's life is a noble act. Betrayal of a husband may be an ugly deed, but stoning of a living soul is a beautiful sight. And of course, we being sarcastic. It's just how society operating, and we must know the ignorance of it. Shall we meet evil with evil, and say this is the law? Shall we fight corruption with greater corruption and say this is the rule? Shall we conquer crime with more crimes and say this is justice? These are the things we keep in our hat, in our cat. We got these records and these things in our households for our children, our prosperity. As I'm telling you, so-called authority, I done seen it. These people who exalted themselves with these titles of nobility, they, when you get close to them and talk to them, they get impressed. They don't want their children to be like you, with the intelligence and the understanding and the manners, discipline. A judge would be hard to throw a man in a cage and say he need to be away from society if he find that man got house rules written. If he find that man got discipline in the household, those type of things, those things that money ain't needed for. You like, ain't no way this man gotta be away from society, because he even got house rules in his household. His son out there wild talking about the judge who thinking this, looking at the situation. He have to go against his own inclination when he meets such a man. But again, such a man wouldn't be in a situation that he being sentenced if he ain't done nothing. Rarely. But if he innocent, he will be seen as innocent. On the other hand, because I only talking about the innocent, I ain't talking about somebody who commit a crime. How about if I ain't even need to, if he want to be honorable, my advice to him is to go in there and apologize to whatever wrong he did to anybody and accept any punishment. And because it ain't never too late for man to do right and better. So we're going to end it right there on the Sunday lessons. Simple religions for your soul. Peace.